The morning sun over Lakefield, Texas painted the town in gold. Warm, still, silent. The kind of suburb where lawns are manicured, teachers wave from porches, and nobody expects a storm until it's already overhead. A black Ford Explorer pulled up to the front gate of Roosevelt High School. Out stepped a teenage boy, around 16, tall but lean, hoodie pulled over his head. His name was Ethan Cole. He didn't look at anyone as he adjusted his backpack, just took a breath, checked his phone, no texts, and walked toward the school doors. The counselor had already warned the staff. New transfer, quiet kid, dad's a military vet, no disciplinary record, keep an eye on him just in case. Ethan didn't say much during orientation. He didn't need to. Some students noticed the way he scanned the hallways, not nervously but strategically, like he was reading the room faster than he let on. First period, homeroom. Mr. Daniels introduced him. This is Ethan Cole, everyone. Be kind. New place, new faces. No one clapped, no one cared, except for one person. Back row, legs kicked up, football jersey on. Grin like he owned the oxygen in the room. Chase Merrick, star quarterback, son of the school board president, homecoming king, local golden boy. And when he saw Ethan, quiet, blank-faced, dressed in black, he smirked. Another nobody to toy with. By lunchtime, the rumors were already flying. Did you see that new guy? Who transfers junior year? He's probably a freak. Ethan sat alone, hoodie still up, eyes on a single granola bar he never touched. From 3 tables away, Chase watched, then leaned to his friend Tyler. You know what I hate, Chase whispered. Ghosts who think they're safe. Tyler laughed, already pulling out his phone. At gym class, it started. Coach James paired Ethan with Chase's crew during a friendly scrimmage. The game was rough, elbows and ribs, shoves just shy of fouls. Ethan didn't react, not once. He ran when told, passed when asked. No complaints, no confrontation. Chase hated that. After practice, in the locker room, Chase cornered him. You ever gonna talk? He said. Ethan blinked. Do I need to? Chase shoved his locker closed, loud, echoing. I don't like people who think they're better than me. Ethan met his eyes for the first time. I don't think I'm better. I just don't think you're worth the noise. Chase laughed, but it sounded forced. That was the first crack in the crown. Later that night, Chase posted a photo of Ethan to Snapchat with the caption, "Welcome to hell. Ghost boy, geesh, fresh meat." It got 200 likes in 30 minutes, but across town, in a quiet driveway, a man in his 40s leaned on the hood of a black SUV, arms crossed, military posture, sharp even in jeans. His name was Daniel Cole, Ethan's father. He watched the school through binoculars, memorizing every exit, every window, every license plate in the lot. He wasn't paranoid. He was prepared. And when his son slid into the passenger seat, eyes low and jaw clenched, Daniel simply said, "Need me to talk to someone?" Ethan shook his head. Not yet. Daniel nodded. He didn't need to ask what happened. He'd seen the look before, on soldiers about to go to war. By the end of the week, Ethan had become a walking rumor. Whispers followed him through every hallway. I heard he got expelled from his last school. Someone said he was in juvie. Didn't he pull a knife on a teacher or something? None of it was true, but Ethan didn't care enough to correct anyone. That was Chase's real problem. He couldn't provoke him. He couldn't break him, and that scared him more than a punch ever would. During history class, Mr. Landry asked a question about military strategies in Vietnam. No one raised their hand, except Ethan. The answer he gave was so specific: troop movement by region, night ambushes, flanking maneuvers. The room fell quiet when he finished. Mr. Landry blinked. Where'd you learn that? Ethan shrugged. I listen. Chase narrowed his eyes from across the room. Ethan wasn't just weird. He was trained. Later that day, Chase watched Ethan walk to his locker. Silent, controlled, precise, and an idea formed. Let's test the ghost, he said to Tyler. Let's see what happens when we give him a reason to scream. After school, Friday, parking lot. Chase accidentally bumped into Ethan, knocking his phone to the pavement. The screen cracked. Ethan looked down, then up. Chase smirked. Oops. Ethan stared at him, calm, still. You done? He asked. Oh, I'm just getting started. Chase shoved him again. Ethan took one step back. That was it. Daniel Cole watched from his SUV across the street, eyes locked on the scene. His knuckles tightened on the steering wheel, but he didn't get out. He had trained Ethan for moments like this. Chase threw one last shove, harder than before. Ethan didn't fall. He stepped back, nodded once, and said, "You should stop now, before this gets public." That night, someone anonymously uploaded security footage of the parking lot incident to a private Instagram page titled, "At Roosevelt Secrets." The clip showed everything. By morning, it had over 3,000 views, and Chase wasn't smiling anymore. Sunday, Ethan's home. Daniel cleaned his gun on the kitchen counter. A habit, not a threat. Ethan walked in with a laptop. He sat down, pulled up a map of the school's security blind spots. Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Planning something?" Ethan shrugged. "Just studying terrain." Daniel smiled. Like father, like son. But then Ethan leaned forward. "There's something else. Chase isn't acting alone. He's being pushed." "By who?" "Coach Madison," Ethan replied. "The one who used to coach at my old school." Daniel's smile disappeared. Madison had history, and not the kind that showed up on paper. "Keep watching," Daniel said, but quietly. Monday, Roosevelt High Chase tried to keep his cool, but people were watching now. Not just Ethan, everyone. The shine was fading, the stares were different. Coach Madison called him into his office. "You need to handle this." "I tried. He doesn't break." "Then hit him where it hurts." "How?" The coach slid a folder across the desk. Inside, a photo of Ethan's mom. Chase looked up, confused. "She works at St. Joseph's Hospital," Madison said. "Maybe Ghost Boy needs reminding that no one's untouchable." That night, Ethan received a DM on an encrypted messaging app. It had no sender, just 3 words: "She's not safe," and a photo of his mother in the hospital parking lot. Ethan closed the message, got up from his desk, walked out of the room, and calmly said to his father, "It's time." Daniel didn't speak for a long time. He just stood there, hands folded, jaw locked, as Ethan showed him the message, the photo of Ethan's mom, the timestamp, the hidden number tags in the metadata. "Coach Madison," Ethan said quietly. "He used to be at my old school. He was forced to resign after a fight between players was blamed on his training methods." Daniel nodded slowly. "And you think he's pushing Chase?" "I don't think," Ethan replied. "I know." For a moment, Daniel stared at his son, not as a father, but as a soldier. There was a discipline in Ethan that he hadn't fully seen until now. He didn't panic. He didn't rant. He planned. "You want to hit back?" Daniel asked. Ethan looked him in the eye. "I want to dismantle them." Tuesday, Roosevelt High. Ethan started talking. Not much, but just enough. At lunch, he complimented a teacher's watch. During PE, he helped a freshman pick up a dropped binder. In math class, he corrected an equation on the board, respectfully, and slowly, eyes began to shift. He wasn't the ghost anymore. He was the shadow that moved with purpose, and purpose drew attention. That night, online, a new video appeared on At Roosevelt Secrets, but this time, it was Chase who was caught. Audio picked up his conversation with Coach Madison outside the locker room. "If he doesn't break, we break something for him. His mom, his dad. Something has to give." The comments exploded. "Wait, is this real? Yo, Coach M said that? Someone's getting fired." The school board launched an emergency investigation. Coach Madison was suspended by morning, but Chase wasn't done. When kings lose their crown, they get violent. Wednesday, school courtyard. Chase cornered Ethan near the outdoor lunch tables. "You think you're clever?" he hissed. Ethan didn't move. "I don't think." I calculate Chase grabbed him by the collar, hard. But before anyone could react, 4 other students stepped in. 3 guys, 1 girl, freshmen, juniors, even someone from the football team. "Back off," one said. Chase froze, and for the first time, he looked small. Later that afternoon, principal's office Chase sat across from the principal, red-faced and livid. "This is harassment," he shouted. "He's turning people against me." The principal leaned back. "You mean people are making their own decisions?" Meanwhile, Ethan and Daniel at home. They sat in silence again. Then Ethan asked, "Why didn't you ever tell me what happened in your last unit?" Daniel looked up, sharp, surprised. "Because some battles aren't worth reliving." "But some are," Ethan said. "You told me that." Daniel smiled slightly. He reached into a drawer and pulled out a weathered manila envelope. Inside, a photo. Daniel in full uniform, and beside him, another man, smiling. Coach Madison. Ethan stared. He was in your unit? Daniel nodded. He was different then, but I knew his ego would get him in trouble. That's why I warned the school the second we moved here. You knew? I always knew. Then why didn't you say anything? Because I needed you to stand on your own first. You're not my shadow, Ethan. You're my next mission. Thursday, Assembly Hall. The school board met in front of students, faculty, and parents. Coach Madison's suspension became permanent. And then, unexpectedly, the board chair addressed Chase by name. We are currently reviewing multiple incidents related to student misconduct and threats made against classmates and staff. Disciplinary action is pending. Whispers flew across the room like wildfire. Chase stood frozen. For the first time, he realized there was no one left in his corner. Outside the school, later that day, Ethan sat beneath a tree, back to the brick wall. A shadow fell across him. He looked up. It was Tyler, Chase's friend, but he wasn't smiling. You planned all of it, didn't you? He asked. Ethan didn't answer. Tyler stared, then said, "Respect," and walked away. By Friday morning, Chase's name had become a warning, not a title. He still walked the halls, head high, chin out, but the eyes that once admired him now just watched, cautious and unimpressed. Even the football team started talking, without him. Meanwhile, Ethan had started building something else, momentum. He joined a tech club, helped a teacher solve a projector issue, gave a presentation in English class about strategic nonviolent resistance, quoting civil rights leaders and tacticians alike. He didn't mention Chase once. He didn't need to. People drew the lines on their own. At lunch that day, he sat at the same table, alone at first. Then Tyler joined. Then 2 others from chemistry. By the time the bell rang, 6 people had sat beside him, not out of fear, out of respect. Elsewhere, in the sheriff's office, Daniel Cole sat across from Sheriff Mendez, holding a sealed USB drive. I have recordings from Madison's early years, Daniel said calmly. Things the Army sealed after internal investigations. The sheriff leaned forward. You want me to reopen something federal? Number, I want you to understand why he was never supposed to be near kids. Mendez sighed. Daniel, you still running ops like you're active duty? Daniel didn't blink. When it's about my son. Yes. That evening, Daniel's garage, Ethan practiced takedown drills with his father. Not to fight, to focus. Daniel circled him slowly. You're getting their attention now. Don't enjoy it. Don't use it. Just use the silence. I'm not doing this for revenge, Ethan replied. I know, Daniel said. You're doing it to reset the scale. Then he paused. But you also need to finish it. Ethan stopped moving. Finish it how? Daniel handed him a file folder. Inside, copies of school complaint reports, screenshots from Chase's burner accounts, video stills of Coach Madison whispering to players off record, a final report from Daniel's former commanding officer confirming Madison's dishonorable discharge for endangerment of civilians in a war zone. These go to the board, but not from me, from the students. Saturday, Student Council Open Forum. Once a month, Roosevelt Student Council held a town hall-style forum. Few ever showed. Until now, over 100 students packed into the gym. Tyler stood up and spoke first. Not everyone in this school is who they say they are, and some people abuse the system, but we don't have to stay silent. He stepped aside. Then Mia, a sophomore Ethan had never spoken to, stepped up. She pulled up the Instagram page on the projector. This account wasn't just gossip. It became truth when nobody else would tell it. One by one, students stood, not to chant, to speak, about bullying, about favoritism, about fear. Then, someone handed Ethan the mic. He stepped forward, calm, measured. I'm not here to take anyone down, he said. I just want to make sure no one else gets stepped on while everyone else looks away. He held up the folder, and these are the things that prove it. Monday morning, Roosevelt High. The school board released a formal statement. Chase Merrick is suspended indefinitely pending legal investigation. Coach Madison's license has been revoked. Roosevelt High is implementing an independent oversight panel for all student and staff conduct. And just like that, the king had fallen. 3 days after Chase's suspension, peace settled over Roosevelt High like a late summer storm that had finally passed. The halls felt lighter. Students laughed again. Even the teachers smiled more often. But Ethan knew something most didn't. This wasn't over, because while the school was focused on Chase and Coach Madison, Daniel had been digging into something else. That night, Daniel opened a small fireproof safe hidden beneath the floorboards of their garage. Inside, a black case. Inside that, his old Army ID, a sealed flash drive, and one photograph, worn and creased, of his original squad. In the background of the photo, a blurred figure standing just off-center. Daniel stared at it for a long time. Then, he made a call. Next morning, Veteran Affairs Archives, downtown Houston. Daniel walked in with Ethan beside him. "I don't get it," Ethan said. "Chase is gone. Madison is gone. What else is there?" Daniel looked straight ahead. The architect. They stepped into a records room, dimly lit, filled with beige folders stacked like relics. A man in uniform handed Daniel a sealed envelope. He opened it slowly, then froze. "No way," Ethan whispered. Inside the file was a clearance form, top secret, signed 13 years ago by the father of Chase Merrick, Thomas Merrick. Not just a board member, not just Chase's father. He was the officer who approved Madison's final mission in Iraq, the one that went wrong, and covered it up. Daniel whispered, "He didn't just protect his son at school. He's been protecting himself for over a decade." Ethan stared at the file. "This isn't about a bully," he said. "It's about an entire family legacy built on silence." Later that night, Ethan's room. He stared at a blank screen, the file still on the flash drive. His hand hovered over the upload button. He could leak it right now, but he didn't. Instead, he printed the documents, clean, sharp, irrefutable, and put them in an envelope. The name on it, Principal Ward. The next day, Roosevelt High. At the staff meeting, Principal Ward addressed the room full of educators. "Some of you may not want to hear this," she said, voice low, "but we've been manipulated by influence far outside this building. We let connections control consequences." She held up the documents. "This ends today." The staff erupted. Questions, gasps, and even applause. Meanwhile, the Merrick house. Thomas Merrick sat at his dining room table, reading the morning paper. His wife looked up from her coffee. "Is it true?" she asked softly. He folded the paper, didn't answer. Outside, a car idled. Daniel Cole sat in the driver's seat. He didn't get out, he didn't knock, he just watched. Because sometimes, winning doesn't mean speaking. It means watching the truth speak for itself. 3 days after the documents surfaced, Roosevelt High became national news. The story ran across local stations first, then online. High school whistleblower exposes generational corruption. Teen uncovers military cover-up linked to school board president. By the end of the week, Thomas Merrick had resigned, and Chase Merrick officially withdrew from Roosevelt High. But it wasn't victory Ethan felt. It was exhaustion. That Friday, as he sat on the school steps after class, the principal walked up and handed him a letter. "I know this was never about recognition," she said softly, "but sometimes people deserve to be seen." He opened it slowly. A letter of commendation from the Texas Education Ethics Board, signed and sealed. Ethan folded it carefully and tucked it into his bag. Not for pride, for proof. That silence doesn't always win. That evening, home Daniel grilled steaks out back, while Ethan cleaned up the garage. They didn't talk much. They never needed to. But eventually, Ethan asked, "Did you ever think it would get this far?" Daniel flipped a steak. "I thought it might get worse." "You weren't wrong," Ethan said. They both smiled. But then Daniel turned serious. "You know what you did. That was war. But what comes after? That's peace. Don't forget how to live in it." Ethan nodded. That night, he slept through the entire night for the first time since they moved. 1 week later, Roosevelt High Gym. The school hosted a community forum, not because it had to, but because it wanted to. Parents came, teachers came, even the sheriff showed up and nodded at Daniel from the back row. Ethan sat in the crowd, hoodie off, eyes forward. When the mic was offered, he didn't get up. He didn't need to. A sophomore named Alyssa stood instead. She spoke about bullying, about favoritism, about the fear that used to hang in every hallway. But then she pointed toward Ethan without naming him. Someone stood up when it wasn't safe, and that made it safe for the rest of us. Applause. Real, loud, earned. Later, that night, outside the school, Tyler caught up with Ethan by the bike rack. "You changed this place," he said. Ethan shook his head. "Nah, I just reminded people they could speak." Tyler paused. "You ever think about running for student council?" Ethan blinked. "You serious?" "Dead serious." Ethan smiled. "Let me think on it." Meanwhile, Merrick residence, vacant. The house was quiet. Furniture boxed, curtains drawn. Chase stood in his old room, now empty. He looked around once, then at the football he used to carry everywhere. He dropped it in the trash can. Outside, a moving truck hummed in the driveway. Back at Roosevelt, Monday morning, posters went up. Student voices matter, leadership voting next week. At the bottom, candidate, Ethan Cole. He hadn't printed it. Someone else had. But he didn't tear it down. He looked at it and smiled. Monday morning felt different. Not because of the weather or the school bell or even the new cafeteria snacks they were testing out. It felt different because, for the first time, Ethan Cole's name was on the wall, in bold black text under a sky blue background. Ethan Cole, candidate for student advocate. No slogans, no promises, just action. He hadn't written any of it. Tyler and Alyssa had taken the lead, with help from others who had once whispered about him behind his back. Funny how people change when silence breaks. In homeroom, the teacher nodded to him. Not the usual, "there's the quiet kid" nod. A real one, the kind you give to someone who's earned something. Even Principal Ward stopped him between classes. "You don't need to win," she said quietly. "You already showed us what leadership looks like." At home, Tuesday night, Ethan sat at the kitchen table, looking at flyers his classmates had printed. They weren't flashy, just facts. What he helped uncover, what he stood for, why people trusted him. Daniel walked in holding 2 mugs of hot cocoa, one for each. "Your mother would have been proud," he said softly. Ethan didn't look up. "Do you think she would have voted for me?" Daniel smiled. "She would have built you a campaign website before you asked." They both laughed, but then Daniel turned serious. "There's one thing left." Ethan raised an eyebrow. Daniel pulled out a flash drive from his jacket. "Her final message. She made it for you before the surgery. I wasn't sure you were ready." Ethan's throat tightened. He took it, hands trembling slightly, and walked to his room. That night, Ethan's room. He closed the door, sat down, inserted the drive. The screen flickered, and there she was, his mother. Warm smile, tired eyes, wrapped in a hospital gown. "Hey, my beautiful boy. If you're watching this, I'm probably somewhere better. I hope you've eaten something. If not, I'm haunting you." She smiled through her tears. "I just wanted to say, don't let what happens to us turn you into someone cold. Your father is strong, but you're kind. Don't ever trade that for strength. You can be both. And if you ever feel small, just remember, quiet water carves canyons." She blew a kiss. "Go change something." The screen went black. Ethan sat still for a long, long time, and when he finally wiped his face, he smiled. Thursday, election results assembly. The gym was packed. 3 students ran for advocate. 2 gave speeches. Ethan didn't. When the principal called out his name, he simply stood, nodded once, then sat down. That was enough. When the results came in, there was no tie. Ethan Cole, winner, 76% of the vote. That afternoon, while cleaning up the flyers near the front office, Ethan found one last folded note taped to a locker. He opened it. It read, "You never punched me. You never needed to. That's what kills me the most. See." He folded it once more and tossed it in the trash without looking back. The week after the election, things at Roosevelt settled into something Ethan had never felt before. Normal. But in the Cole household, something new was stirring. That night, Daniel sat in his garage with the lights dimmed, flipping through an old leather-bound journal. Pages filled with scribbled coordinates, military codes, and names. Some crossed out, some underlined. And one name he hadn't read out loud in 10 years. Maddox Keller. Flashback. Fallujah, Iraq. 2008 Sergeant First Class Daniel Cole was in the middle of a night recon sweep when his comm crackled. "Contact East Wall. Maddox says stand down. Repeat, Maddox." But by the time backup arrived, the warehouse was burning. 3 civilians were caught inside, and Maddox, a new Silver Star-chasing officer, signed off that the intel had been bad. Collateral. Daniel wanted to file the real report, but it vanished. wiped, rewritten. Later that year, Daniel was reassigned. Maddox rose in rank, and the pain sat in Daniel's gut like shrapnel ever since. Back to present day. Daniel stared at the final report Maddox had signed. Next to his signature, a second line. Thomas Merrick, the same man who'd protected Madison, the same family whose son had tried to break Ethan. It all connected. Ethan found his father staring at the wall. "You okay?" Daniel handed him the file. "You won the war at school. I never finished mine." Ethan scanned it. "This guy, he's still out there?" Daniel nodded. "And he's a board advisor to a new military tech program outside Dallas." Ethan leaned back. "Do we go after him?" Daniel smirked. We expose him, like you did." Next day, Ethan's room. He opened his laptop, pulled up the anonymous Dropbox, uploaded the file. Attached, 13 years, 3 civilians, no answers. "This man is on your defense tech committee." Then he shut the lid. Just like that, the last chain broke. Friday, Roosevelt High. It was Earth Day. The school hosted a cleanup event around town. Ethan wasn't alone anymore. His table was full. His backpack no longer zipped closed from all the notes people left him. And when a 6th grader from the middle school nervously walked over and said, "I want to be brave like you," Ethan knelt, smiled, and replied, "You already are." Later that night, Ethan's backyard. Daniel fired up the grill again, same as the first night they moved in. Same charcoal, same beer, same music, but this time, Ethan had picked the playlist. "You know what the difference is now?" Ethan asked, leaning back. Daniel looked up. "What's that?" "I don't have to watch my back." Daniel clinked his soda bottle against Ethan's water. "You earned that." They both looked out into the yard as the sun dipped behind the fence line. Quiet, peaceful, no shadows left to chase. The semester was almost over. Summer crept toward Roosevelt High like a slow tide. Warm days, lighter homework, field day posters taped to every wall. And for once, Ethan wasn't counting down the days to leave. He liked it here now. Not because it was perfect, it wasn't, but because he'd helped rebuild it. At the end of year assembly, the principal made an unexpected announcement. "This year, we're adding a new tradition," she said. "A student advocate will close the ceremony with a personal message." And then she called his name, Ethan Cole. He hadn't prepared a speech, didn't have a script, didn't need one. He walked onto the gym stage, looked out at hundreds of students, teachers, parents, and smiled slightly. Then said, "A year ago I walked into this school without saying a word, and most people liked it that way." The room chuckled lightly. "I've been called ghost, freak, mystery, and worse. But the truth is, I'm just like you. Afraid sometimes, angry sometimes, but mostly just trying to figure out who I am." He paused. "This year I learned something. That strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just shows up, stands still, doesn't move, even when everything pushes against it. And when you do that long enough, sometimes people stop pushing. Silence, then applause, then a standing ovation, not just for the speech, for the boy who made everyone else stronger by just being unshakable." After the ceremony, school parking lot. Daniel leaned against the SUV, arms crossed, watching Ethan walk toward him. "You spoke," he said with a smirk. Ethan grinned. "Didn't I?" Daniel handed him a folder. Inside, a printout of a sealed military pardon. Daniel Cole, officially cleared of non-disclosed action record. Iraq, 2008. Ethan looked up, eyes wide. They reopened the case. Daniel nodded. "Your upload triggered an ethics review. For Maddox, and for me." Ethan stared at the words. "Honorably restored. You're free now." Daniel put a hand on his shoulder. "So are you." 1 year later, Roosevelt High looked different, cleaner, brighter. A mural now painted on the west courtyard wall showed 4 students standing together beneath a sunrise. One in a black hoodie, hands in pockets, head raised. In bold lettering beneath, "Silence can still speak." Dedicated to Ethan Cole. It was the annual student reunion barbecue. Families, alumni, faculty, all back for food, music, and summer sun. Tyler manned the grill. Alyssa ran the activity booths. And somewhere near the parking lot, Daniel Cole leaned on the same black SUV, now with a Texas veteran plate, watching, smiling. Inside the gym, Ethan walked through the halls like they'd always belonged to him. Only now, they actually did. He'd come back not as a guest, but as a guest speaker for the next generation. His talk had already gone viral on the school's YouTube channel. When Quiet Wins, How I Beat the System by Not Playing It. Thousands of views, emails from teachers across the state, even a podcast interview request. But none of it mattered as much as this moment. Walking into the back office and seeing his old locker, still scratched, still dented, still his. He didn't touch it, just nodded once, then walked away. Outside, later. That day, Daniel and Ethan sat on the tailgate of the truck, 2 lemonades between them. No words for a while, until Daniel finally asked, "What comes next?" Ethan smiled. "I've been thinking about that." He pulled out a folded brochure. University of Texas at Austin, pre-law with an advocacy minor. Daniel read it, then looked at his son. "You going to fight more systems?" Ethan shook his head. "I'm going to build better ones." Daniel exhaled slowly. Proud didn't even come close. As the sun set, Ethan walked alone to the edge of the field. He pulled out his phone, opened a note, typed, May 15th, 2 years since the first threat. 1 year since the truth. Still standing, still quiet, still unbroken. Then he closed the note and turned off his phone. No photos, no followers, just peace. Final scene. Epilogue. A new student entered Roosevelt High. Skinny, nervous, backpack too big. He looked lost until a calm voice spoke behind him. "First day?" The kid turned. Ethan Cole, now 18, extended his hand. "I'll show you around."